Back on this Wednesday. Thanks for hanging out with us. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Coming up at 1:30, we'll talk to Paul Hudrick from Liberty Ballers. We'll talk some Sixers with Paul. Tomorrow, we will have Jordan Raanan from ESPN.com. He covers the Giants. We will talk to Jordan on Friday. We will have Michael Barkpan from NBC Sports Philadelphia. You might know that guy, Barrett. You might be familiar with him.
Yeah. We tend to meet up on Sundays. I guess we got to meet up this Saturday.
You might be hanging out Saturday this instead of Sunday. Yeah, Saturday night, in fact, is when you might be hanging out. I know. Sorry, Gunner. I had to just in case you forgot.
2 days in a row you did this.
I thought maybe you forgot for a minute. I had to remind you.
Oh my goodness.
But look at it this way. At least you're off the next day.
Yeah, off Friday, man. We're off Friday.
We are.
Who's off Friday?
I mean, no. I'm sorry. It was Saturday.
Oh,
we're off on Sunday.
I thought you knew something we didn't know. I was
really?
We're off Friday.
Okay. Yeah, all right.
Wishful thinking.
I hear you. All right. So I say this, half tongue in cheek, half not, but the Eagles were a 14-3 team. 2 of those losses came when their quarterback went out injured. But they were a darn good team. Let me give you a statistical reminder of just how good. Defensively, 70 sacks first. They allowed 179.8 yards per game in the air first. Yards allowed, 301.5 second. Points allowed, 20.2, tied for 7th. Turnover differential, +8, 3rd. 27 takeaways, tied for 3rd. 4 players in double-digit sacks. That's for starters. Let's go to the other side of the ball. 28 points per game, 3rd. 241.5 passing yards, 9th. 147.6 rushing yards, 5th. 2,000-yard receivers and 1,000-yard rusher. Jalen Hurts, 3,701 yards, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 67 completion percentage, 101.6 passer rating, 760 rushing yards, and 13 touchdowns. This is the team that's going to take the field on Saturday night against the Giants. And I think it's a team that we've sort of, because maybe they didn't play great against the Bears. Jalen gets hurt. They lose 2 in a row. The last game is really kind of a weird confluence of trying not to get hurt, but also trying to win the game with Jalen not all the way back, even though he was playing, and then having an off day, an off week. Then you watch the Giants play really well against the Vikings, and I'll get to the Giants in a little bit. But I think we tend to forget how good this team is and how well coached they've been throughout the year.
You're absolutely right, man. Just all those numbers just point towards this team. For the first 3 quarters of the year was amazing. You know what I'm saying? Amazing. I mean, we could do literally no wrong. And then circumstances could become that, we're not playing as well because, I mean, ultimately big factors happened during these last 3 or 4 games. Our starting quarterback is out. Our starting right tackle's out. Our starting slot corner's out. Our starting tight end was out. I mean, there was so many extenuating circumstances that, now everybody's saying, all right, is this team the team, of destiny? Is this the team that, we thought we were going to have? Do they really have an opportunity to win us? Yes, they're still a good team. And it's not me just drinking the Kool-Aid. It's not me just being a glass half full type of guy. It's not me. This Eagles team is a good team. They have not left. To me, they have not left being one of, if not the best team in the NFL. Yes, even better than the 49ers. You know what I'm saying? They're still one of the upper echelon teams. So, I mean, I never got with, saying this team is not as good as we saw before. They are as good. They just needed to get healthy. Now they're back healthy. Now they're ready to go out there and play at a high level that we're used to seeing them play at.
Derek?
Well, statistically, they are the best of the best. There's no question about it. No matter how they got to the finish line, they are the best of the best at what they've done this season over a 17-game span. And I think to a certain degree, they spoiled us because we grew to expect this every week, And so every team has hiccups along the way. You look at the records. There's not a team in the NFL that has not had a hiccup along the way. And when this team started to have hiccups, people started questioning even louder, did this team peak too soon? Or was it a mirage? So on and so forth. But like Barrett said, significant pieces to the equation fell by the wayside along the way. And let's face it, for the most part, they got through this season unscathed, unlike a lot of teams that had to scramble to fill voids and try to keep this thing going. Some were able to successfully do it. Many more were not. Now this team has gotten a little bit healthier. We know Lane Johnson is not going to be 100%. We assume Jalen Hurts is 100%. Dallas Goedert is back. CJ is back. Avonte Maddox is still a big loss, but they still have enough everywhere else to overcome whatever deficiencies they might have in personnel at their one particular spot. So this team is ready to go. They're well rested. They're healed up. They had a chance to study the different things that the Giants threw at Minnesota that they could possibly see. They fully expect Daboll and Martindale to throw some different things at them, just as Daboll and Martindale expect Steichen, Sirianni, and Gannon to throw some different things at them. I cannot wait to see this chess match unfold.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the other thing, and I know they will never, ever, ever admit to this, but you can't tell me that the way they got smoked last year in the first round didn't leave a bad taste in everybody's mouth. And I know you got to concentrate on the Giants, and I get it. Like, but that Barrett, especially, you know the way Hurts picks, man, and the way he likes boulders on his shoulder and all that, man. That he wants to go out there and show everybody I am a playoff player too. This is not just the regular season.
That's huge. People really aren't thinking that, he still has a bad taste in his mouth left from even that. Them talk, and that's why Nick Sirianni has that same bad taste also. That's why he did, say, all right, we understood after that loss against Tampa Bay that we have to have a passing game in order to go far into the playoffs. Hence, that's why they've been throwing the ball so daggone much, because of that reason. So they can stay sharp in throwing the ball. So Jalen Hurts can be sharp and knowing his read, executing the offense. Because they're going to need that passing game. Yep. They've always got that back. Anytime they've wanted to run the ball and run the ball successfully, they've done it. They've achieved it. They're saying, oh, we don't run the ball as well. That's because we're not making an effort, a solid effort to do it. And whenever they make a solid effort to run the ball, they can run the ball on anybody and everybody, including the 49ers. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So for us to be like, all right, they can't run up. They're choosing not to. They're being selective in how they're approaching this pro season. They want to throw the ball because they know they can win a championship by throwing the rock.
Right. And look, there's not to say that Miles Sanders isn't a great solution, but you have A.J. Brown, you have Devontae Smith, you have Dallas Goedert. And Goddard's going to be the guy to watch for in this game. I'm telling you right now. I mean, Hawkinson last week, 10 catches, 129 yards. Hawkinson's really good. I'm not taking anything away from T.J. Hawkinson.
Exactly.
But so is Dallas Goedert. I think this could be a Dallas Goedert game this week.
Yep.
Well, more importantly than Hurts and Sirianni with that bad taste in their mouths, the front office also had that bad taste, which leads to what corrections they made in realizing what they needed to do to get better to be an upper echelon team. They went out and got linebacker. They went out and got wide receivers. When the run defense was wavering, they went out and got two, Brahma Bulls to put in the middle of that defensive line. Every step along the way, Howie has been on top of identifying what the weaknesses were on this team and correcting those weaknesses. They needed another wide receiver. They needed to get better at linebacker. They needed to get better at pass rushing. They needed to get better at run defending. And we talk about all the time how Jalen Hurts has checked off every box. Howie Roseman has checked off every box you can possibly checked off, more so than anybody else in the league in terms of filling gaps to make this a stronger, deeper team. And look at the results that he's gotten because of it.
Yeah, I mean, look, the talent on this team, and I know it's not just doesn't come down to talent. Here's the thing. The Eagles are more talented. I think, look, you could argue coaching. Daboll's really good. So if you want to say that's a push, that's fine. But the Eagles if you're asking me healthy Jalen against Daniel Jones, I'm taking Jalen. If you're receivers, there isn't even a comparison. Tight end, there's not even a comparison. Offensive line, the Eagles are better. And then again, I'm assuming Lane's relatively healthy. Defensive line. Now, Giants are legit on the defensive line. I'm not taking anything away.
No question about that.
Linebackers, I would take the Eagles, actually. Mm-hmm. Corners, it's secondary. Overall, I'll take the Eagles, but the Giants are no chopped liver. I'm not saying that, but most of the critical positions, I'm taking the Eagles head to head. And it's really, by a lot.
Absolutely. There's no question about
it. They are the better. The Eagles are the better team. Period. There's no question about that. but we have to go out there and play as such. And one thing we do know, we have the proper people in place to execute what we need to execute and play at the level we need to play at. Jalen Hurts will do everything possible to be ready for this game. He is definitely put in the time, going and watching film, correcting his mistakes, understanding what he has to do, looking at the last game he played and seeing how he broke down that defense and the blitzes, knowing when he needs to run, when he needs to keep himself safe, slide, stop, drop, and roll, whatever he needs to do to make sure, because he knows what he means to this team. He saw what his absence meant to this team. So he's going to take care of himself. So I'm not worried about him going out there and executing this offense the way it's supposed to be executed, but still keeping himself safe and out of harm's way. Right. Yes, they're going to run the read option. Yes, they're going to run RPOs. But he will take care of himself and govern himself accordingly because his absence meant a lot more to this team than even he thought or we thought it was going to be. We thought we had somebody. Well, we still do have somebody in Gardner Minshew that could play, but we don't need to play because I believe Jalen Hurts is going to make sure that he's okay. Now, looking on the defensive side of the ball, the way that our defense, looking at their offense, I can't see a flaw in which we'll be overwhelmed in any place, even with their receivers. I mean, what's the guy's name? Hodgins.
Yeah. Isaiah Hodgins.
Yeah.
Isaiah Hodgins. There are people, oh my goodness, this kid is coming out. Do we not understand who we have at the quarterback position? Darius Slayton. Okay. Not overwhelming me. Richie James. All right. This team is nowhere near what the Eagles are. And I think I know they're going to play the way they're supposed to play, understanding where they are. This is a winner-go-home tournament. They're going to be ready to play, man. And you're going to see I believe you're going to see a dominant game by this Eagles team, giving whoever wins that other playoff game something they're going to have to research and really, really scheme to try to beat us.
Yeah, looking ahead, you get an extra day.
Exactly.
How about that? I'm glass half full. I'm already looking ahead, which I can't do, which I shouldn't do, but I can do it. They can. No, but I think I'm sorry. I don't think they're going to have an answer for a relatively healthy Hurts. I just don't. I think the Eagles are going to scheme this thing up as such where they're going to put up some points. And I know the Giants are a tough team. I'm taking nothing away from the Giants generally here. I just think the Eagles are that good. It's more of a compliment to the Eagles than it's a knock on the Giants. I just think they're that good, all around. And they just present so many different problems, Cousins doesn't provide that threat with his legs that Jalen provides. You have two studs on the outside, not just Justin Jefferson. You have the tight end who's the equivalent of Hockenson. You have a running game that's equivalent of what they have with Dalvin Cook, and you're just better at most of those positions than the Vikings are in general. And it's not like the Vikings were completely shut down. They weren't.
You're right. Cousins had, like we talked about in our meeting, Cousins had a pretty good day, man.
200. He went 31 of 39, 273, 2 touchdowns throwing, 1 rushing, and wasn't sacked.
Right. That's a pretty good day. Even though they didn't run the ball consistently, I don't think they gave Dalvin
Cook.
I agree with that.
A real chance to take control of the game. See, in order to run the ball, is not the 2 and 3 yard runs you guys think aren't effective, but they are. When you run the ball, you run the ball, you get 3 yards here, 4 yards there, and then another 3 yards there. You're right there where you need to be, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. You want to be in third manageable situations. You know what I'm saying? Just as long as there's no negative plays, those are good runs. Mm-hmm. Because I won a Super Bowl with 3 yards here, 3 yards here, 6 yards there, and it's a first down. 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Yes, I had a Hall of Famer back there in Jerome Bettis. But the offensive line, you could have put anybody back there. Fast Willie Parker. We had Deuce. You have to make sure that you establish it when you want to establish it. And there's no such thing as a bad run as long as you're gaining yards. As long as it's 2 yards here, you're going to bust 6 yards here, and then you're going to get another 4 yard run here, and you have a first down. Those are all things you have to account for. You can't give up on the run. I know they want to get those dynamic plays and push the ball down the field. They want big play situations. That's why they brought in the A.J. Brown. That's why they drafted a top 10 receiver in the draft 2 years ago. You want those type of impact plays. But there's nothing wrong with grinding it out and keeping the ball in your hands. Because when we play against those two teams, one of those two teams we're going to play for in the NFC Championship game, whether it's Dallas or the 49ers, you're going to have to run and stay consistently with the ball in our hands as opposed to it being in whoever the opponent's hands are.
Yeah, I like your all your points. Your initial one is great. I mean, don't give up on it if you're not ripping off 7 yards per carry.
Exactly.
Early. Just stay with it. I mean, that's the thing that bothers me. This is an Eagle. It's not just an Eagle thing. It's an NFL thing. I think you got to, just stay committed to it for sure. But yeah, I mean, I think there's just a lot to like. Like those numbers aren't bogus numbers. It's across the board on both sides of the ball where you're consistent. There's a reason you ran out to a 13-1 start. That wasn't by coincidence. Okay. And it wasn't because of some weak schedule and all the other excuses that people like to throw in there. They whipped the Vikings.
Look at Forrest Hill. That's a great comment. That's a great comment right there. That's a great comment. Like you've seen against the Commanders, gas after gas after gas. Beat the Eagles, keep the ball out of Jalen's hands. That's exactly what you do. That's what the Saints did.
Mm-hmm.
All out the first drive. Keep their offense off the field. That way they can't score. You know what I'm saying? That makes this Eagles team antsy, and they want to throw the ball after that. Yep. Bruh, consistency. You know what I'm saying? Slow and steady. There's nothing wrong with having the ball for and winning the time possession. Usually when you win the time possession, you win the game. And that's how the Eagles have been consistently winning the game, by controlling the clock. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that, look, the Giants' game plan is going to be, I think, running Barkley and Jones running himself to try to accomplish that, keeping the Eagles off the field. That's what it's all about. You can stop those two guys. Look, all due respect to Hodgins and Slayton and Richie James and all those guys and Bellinger, they've overachieved in a big way. But
yes,
I'm not afraid of those guys. Nope. I worry about Barkley and I worry about Daniel Jones with his wheels. I do. I legitimately, that's the concern for me.
Well, that's sweet. To me, that's going against our strength. That's going against those 4 guys up front, or 4 and 5 man fronts.
Right.
We have to stop the run with those 4 and 5 guys up front. We got to have great days out of Sue. We got to have great days out of Linville Joseph. We got to have great days out of Fletcher Cox, Hargraves. Those guys up front in the middle of that defense have to play consistent. And it's not just in run plays and stopping Saquon Barkley, setting the edge with Hassan Reddick and Sweat and BG and those guys. What we need is to make sure we contain Daniel Jones and his ability to get out of circumstances in which he can get out there and run. We did a great job of rushing the passer and keeping him inside the pocket. As long as you keep him inside the pocket, this is like the new wave now. The new wave quarterbacks these days can run the ball and are effective at getting out of crucial situation, running the ball down the field. You look what's going on in Jacksonville. Everybody's taking a page out of Jalen Hurts' book. Look at Jacksonville. They don't mind Lawrence out there running the rock and gaining first down like that. Daniel Jones is the same way. You look at Allen. Allen is doing that. And we all see what Patrick Mahomes does. He gets out of it. He just doesn't run with it. He wants to throw the ball down the field. Versatile quarterbacks can get out of the pocket and make some things happen. It's like the new wave thing. The days you're just sitting back there like Marino and hitting and dunking and dancing and Brady, just dunking. That stuff, you can still do it. Mm-hmm. But you're more effective now with quarterbacks that can go out there and move. You can move the pocket around for them as opposed to sit back there like a statue.
Absolutely. All right, let's get a timeout. We'll dig a little bit more into this Giants team and what they do well, what they struggle with, areas you could attack, all those kind of things. We'll do that when we come back again. 1:30. Paul Hudrick. We'll talk some Sixers with him, but we'll continue the Eagles-Giants matchup talk when we come back. Derek Gunn, Barrett Brooks, Rob Ellis. We're Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. I want to tell you about Pro Action Restoration. Yes, my friends at Pro Action Restoration. If you have a home, you have a business, you have a property that you own, and you unfortunately go through the experience of water, fire, smoke, mold damage, whatever, it can be really trying and you're not really sure who to turn to. You're trying to do it yourself. It's a bigger job than you can handle. They're on call 24 hours, 7 days a week to assist. I know because I went through it. I went through it at my parents' house, their basement, water down there after a bad storm, and it was a disaster. Well, I called Pro Action Restoration on a Saturday. They got right over there. They fixed the problem. They cleaned it up. The price was reasonable. The crew was professional. It was a great experience. They are licensed, bonded, fully insured. They serve the tri-state area, and they have for more than 2 decades. Pro Action Restoration will work in conjunction with your insurance company. And again, it could be water, could be fire, could be smoke, could be mold remediation. Any of the above, you name it, they can handle it. Give them a call, 610-623-3760, 610-623-3760, or online at proactionrestoration.com. That's proactionrestoration.com.